Now it is my honor to introduce our Spring 2022 Park University Commencement speaker. Dr. Josh Rowland is the Chief Executive Officer and Vice Chairman of Lead Bank, a community-minded independent commercial bank headquartered in the Kansas City, Missouri, serving clients digitally throughout the United States. Josh serves in multiple management roles at the bank, including membership in the bank's executive committee, loan committee, and oversight of the bank's marketing and technology functions. He's also the president and CEO of Lead Financial Group, the holding company. Josh was named a top 10 most innovative CEOs for 2018 by INV FinTech, as well as ICBA 2018 Community Banker of the Year for the Central Region. He is a featured speaker at national banking conferences, presented at the Bank Innovation 2018, Lend Connect 2018, and FinTech Talents 2020. Josh received his Bachelor's of Arts degree with distinction from Stanford University and a PhD in English Literature from Yale University. Subsequently, Josh graduated magna cum laude with his Juris Doctor from Boston College Law School. And prior to joining Lead Bank in 2008, Josh practiced law as a commercial litigator, focusing on securities defense work at 2 American Law 100 firms. Josh currently serves on the boards of MOXA, the Metropolitan Organization to Counter Sexual Assault, where he serves as immediate past chair, the Kansas City Art Institute, and the Kansas City Symphony. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Dr. Josh Rowland.
Members of the Board of Trustees, President Smead, Provost Myers, members of the faculty, staff, families, guests, and graduates of the class of 2022. Congratulations. Graduates, you have accomplished so much. Today is the day to revel in those accomplishments, to rejoice with your partners, children, grandchildren, parents, and friends, to relish the certainty that once again you have risen to the occasion of your own high goals and aspirations, and to recognize what still lies ahead. But before we look to the future, let's think about today's ceremony. I'm deeply honored to share this day of celebration with you. Your students from 26 nations. Today you are receiving 624 degrees and certifications, including 138 advanced graduate degrees. Most of you receiving your degrees today have completed your studies 1 or 2 courses at a time, balancing the demands of full-time jobs and overtime families. I'm particularly moved to see the numbers of your children who are here with you to celebrate your achievements. As you receive your accolades, pause a moment and look at the children in your families. Your decisions and hard work that have brought you here have involved them and changed them just as much as they've changed you. You undertook to do something brave and hard, to invest your time and attention into your education when sticking to a simpler, straighter path would have been so much easier. I'm confident in saying to you that your work has changed the future, and not just yours, but everyone who comes into contact with you. Oscar Wilde, the great English poet and playwright from the early 20th century, who wrote The Picture of Dorian Gray, and a really, really funny play, The Importance of Being Earnest, was a very witty guy. He was also known for his eccentric and flamboyant clothes. In response to hearing criticism of his clothing choices, Wilde said, "The only way to atone for being occasionally a little overdressed is by being always absolutely overeducated." And you all, in your caps and gowns, your decorated mortarboards, and your hoods, with your diplomas, are well on your way to both. I suppose that I am a fellow sufferer of these conditions with you. I've had a lot of schooling by anyone's measure: college, graduate school, law school. I've even got a degree from something called bank school. at the University of Colorado. And honestly, the reactions that people have when this bit of biographical detail comes out range from pity for my parents, suspicion that I am pathetically indecisive, to fear that I am basically insane and might be contagious. By contrast, no one ever has said to me, "Wow, that's cool. What have you learned?" No one has ever, and I mean ever, ever said, "I wish I could do that." Which frankly makes me feel a bit self-conscious. Wouldn't you feel that way? I mean, I am holding down a steady job now, so what's the problem? Setting the aspiration of being occasionally overdressed to the side for today, let's think about the idea of being overeducated. What would being overeducated look like? What would it feel like? Well, what does it feel like for you today? You've studied and received specialized certifications, bachelor's of arts and master's degrees. You have degrees in everything from psychology and social psychology to criminal justice, information systems, and business administration, not to mention the humanities. Tomorrow, this will be a fact, a part of your biography, a line on your resume, a straight line on your resume. And someone may read it and think, overeducated. But did you absolutely need it? Did you need this overeducation? Can you quantify, assign a dollar value to it? The process you went through, bringing along your families and your friends? And how will you know? Because you and I both know, we all know that what lies behind the pity, the concern, and the fear is this question: what will you do with that? Now, people have literally no idea what someone would do with a PhD in English literature. I mean, really, teach? And I say that with greatest respect for the Parks Arts and Humanities faculty. And since I am not now a university professor, even though that was my career dream and goal right out of college, was that just 7 years wasted when I coulda or shoulda been doing something, anything else? My wife, an English professor at KU, would disagree with that. For her, my PhD was essentially the only thing I had going for me. But for most people, it goes without saying that being a CEO of a community bank has nothing to do with 19th century literature. Again, cue the concern for my mental state. A law degree is obviously a little more sane. People think they know what you can do with a law degree, even though everybody seems to think that everybody else's lawyer is positively the worst, and all the lawyers make it a part of their daily mantra to complain about how terrible being a lawyer is. But once again, if you don't practice law, as I no longer do, it could all seem a bit silly and really a waste of time and money. So let's imagine that line on tomorrow's resume and see where it leads. I think the dangerous thing about that one line is that people get tricked by it. It seems so simple, right? The straight line on your resume points from your education forward to a job. That is, unless it reads Josh Rowland has a BA in English literature. Uh-oh, there's no straight line from there. Scary. So let's call this the mistake of linear thinking. The idea that if we do one thing, it leads inevitably and even perfectly to the next thing. The goal we pursue, the job we want, the life we want. But we know this is a fallacy, because a straight line isn't really how anyone got here today. And judging from my use of the traffic app Waze, it is a scientific fact that no one ever goes in a straight line anywhere. Most of you graduating today from Park University have served or have family who have served in the United States military. Come on. Your average age is 30 years old. For most of you, you are the first generation of your family to earn a college degree. Now that's something to applaud. What this means to me is that you have had many lives before you even started here as a student at Park. You've already achieved much. And in the middle of living those other lives, you decided that you wanted to do something different, something more. Now I ask you, did you know years and years ago that this would be your path? That you would be here today with your friends and your family, with President Smead shaking your hand and posing for TikToks? No, the road behind you was full of twists and turns. It always has been full of twists and turns. And the road ahead is not straight either. Our paths in life are marked by our choices and our chances. The way ahead is never clear, but looking behind us, we know we've gotten somewhere, even if there's still somewhere better that we want to get to up ahead. Our responses to these contingencies, our bravery in the face of chance, of all we do not know yet, has defined us and brought us to the place we are in. So here's where the education comes in, or I should really say, the decision to take on the work of becoming overeducated, because your education never ends. Your decision first to enroll, then to keep going, whether with a full course load or with 1 or 2 classes each semester, arose from out of a universe of chances and choices. By opening yourself to new bodies of knowledge, new people, new ideas, science, art, innovation, philosophy, new disciplines of understanding and of technique, you've actually taken a step forward into facing the staggering complexity, interconnection, and yes, contingency in human life and culture. As a test of the difference between certainty and complexity, let me ask you, for those of you graduating with degrees in business, do you know now how to run all businesses, any business, everywhere, perfectly? For those of you with degrees in psychology, do you now understand human beings and organizations perfectly so that there will be no confusion, trouble, or heartbreak in the future? What about you graduates in information science? Have you got it all organized? Do you know where it all is? I won't even ask the folks in criminal justice if they have the answers. What we all understand is that your education thus far has put you on a path for responding to uncertainty in the future with more poise, more confidence. By contrast, what an education does not do is simplify or answer the unpredictable questions that life throws at us. Shantideva, a Buddhist monk in the 9th century in India, wrote a work translated as The Way of the Bodhisattva that has been studied for hundreds of years. One reason for the enduring appeal of this text is its simple practicality. Shantideva had little use for abstractions and esoteric arguments. Instead, he explained that living a life of virtue was a constant test in responding to the unfixated nature of the universe, i.e., no straight lines. He was particularly interested in how we deal with the incessant and sometimes really painful demands of our egos, our pride. Wanting this, hating that, using this, discarding that, when, as we know, and those 20th century English gurus, the Rolling Stones, advised, you can't always get what you want. Shantideva taught us that we should view those contingency, those opposition forces, he called them, as opportunities to double down on our patience, on our compassion, our generosity, key parts of a virtuous life. If you think about it that way, that by bravely facing obstacles and frustrations with more patience, more love, you can become more virtuous, then the only rational choice would be something like, bring it on. He had a wonderful phrase for this relationship to chance. He wrote, if no wind blows, then nothing stirs. This image of being stirred up, moved, transformed by wind fits into another metaphor he uses, that of ideas and concepts being ventilated. We could say aired out by encounters, planned and unplanned, with the unexpected and the expected world. And education is a way to be stirred, to have old certainties challenged, to face new tests for your ego and your pride, and to air out your best laid plans. But this process of education is mutual. Your histories, your experiences go to work on the shared knowledge we take from our encounters. This is where all those lives you've already lived come into the education that you've received here at Park. We are, in that way, always each other's wind, educating, stirring things up, and creating new ways ahead for the people around us, for our children who look to us for ways to live in the world. This is identical to what people call lateral thinking. Psychologist Edward de Bono explained that lateral thinking entails a switch from a familiar pattern to a new unexpected one, often through allowing oneself to be surprised and find new insight, to laugh. Broadening one's education as you have done is a way to create that foundation, that infrastructure for new thinking and problem solving, though not necessarily the answers. I believe each of you can say that your education so far, it's always only so far, has stirred is that you now understand the questions to ask, the variables to consider, and the way to think about action. This is what you are going to do with your education. Opening yourself up to an education and confronting what you do not know, doing the hard work of immersing yourself fully so as to acquire that knowledge, is training yourself to respond to the unknown with bravery. What you get from being always absolutely overeducated, the beginning we celebrate with you today, is to draw on all these discrete and surprising facts, schools, histories, and practices, to face all the chances of your life and work ahead of you, to create something your own, unique, that makes your future. This is nothing less than the skill to see the hard and twisting path ahead without ever expecting it to become magically straight and easy. Speaking as someone who is still wrestling with what I should do with my education, it is, I'll tell you, a curious thing. The way education shows you paths, new creative contingencies that would have never occurred to you before, and the way those paths lead to strange, unexpected, hard, and beautiful places. That way has brought us all here together now. I'd rather have that than a straight path forward any day. And I wish you all the best on that journey today. Thank you and congratulations.